like
cried like a baby.
Yeah, I like
but
my
then
husband being like a woman.
But when he found out the knowledge that it would be okay, then he'd be like, yeah.
He was unaware of that part, where he was kind of acting like a woman in that situation, which society at that time portrayed.
Or what society back then thought women were, because that's not necessarily how women are.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah, that's actually
important one.
Yeah.
Very
well.
If we switch over to A Tale of Two Cities, there's all their lack of knowledge that it was Darnay's family that Madame Defarge who raped her sister or whatever. So.
Was it Defarge's sister?
Yeah. Or that's what I've been saying in my essays. She didn't say how it was
believe
wrong.
you're right.
So.
Totally coming back to me.
Yeah, it was like her sister or whatever, and none of them really do that, other than obviously the Defarges. And so it was like all that.
That's true. So knowledge.
Knowledge
Important.
important.
Yeah. Maybe just literature
Literature
trying to tell
and in
me
reality.
when
It
we
is
have
important,
knowledge,
Very much so.
we'll get farther in life.
Because when we have knowledge about important literary devices such as anaphora and alliteration and volta and zeugma, which is very important because I only got 10
what's the
points
fun
on
way
that.
to say?
Antiplosive.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one I got 10 points on.
I got 10 points out of 30 for explaining what antiplosive was when we were supposed to be doing zeugma.
I actually got 10 points out of 30 for saying that anaplosis started with an A and had the same prefix as anaphora.
Oh,
obviously, obviously,
a great word.
Obviously, the meaning resides in the word diplosis, which probably has something to do with language.
Well, I didn't notice the die in it, so I figured there's two something. I was gonna say that, but I had no idea.
That's probably good combination.
Okay, let's have another question.
Yes.
Okay, if you guys don't want to discuss this one, you don't have to, because this is the one I chose. Discuss the role of women and children. Who wrote that?
The role of women and children in
I wasn't here.
Because they really need to work on
Nathan.
I definitely did not.
Nathan, I would like to point out for the record, Nathan had a hard surface and I had nothing.
We started at 5. Do you want to discuss this, or do you, because you guys have been talking about women?
I really want to talk about the drugs.
Serious question.
Okay, how about animals play an important yet often underlying note in literature? Please discuss this.
Well, there's.
Salmon's dog.
We're not talking about the stranger.
Oh yeah.
But okay, so
That's
in
good.
Adult House, she's referred to as all these animal creatures.
Bird.
She's a little bird and she's a little squirrel, and it's kind of like putting her demeaning.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's demeaning her, and it's creating her into something that's his property and not.
Exactly.
So animals are a degradation of humanity.
Yes.
If you're
Which
comparing a human
symbolizes-
to an animal.
Which symbolizes property.
Which reminds me of
Oh, yeah, she was always like a cow.
Yeah. But
That was
yeah.
good. I just realized it. My favorite line.
I don't know if A Tale of Two Cities has any animals in it. I know if Mice and Men does.
Yeah.
That's my
I
other.
have not read that one,
That's my
so.
other work that I have. So, so if any animal questions come up.
They have horses. Whole carriages.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
true. I was like.
There's a scene where, what was the scene where he's like has his horses and then he runs over a small child?
By the fountains.
Oh yeah.
And there's this great quote that I'm trying to memorize. That's like, all things run their course. Just the fountains run their course. And the rest. But I don't really have it all down.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But
You
yeah,
know what symbolism really got me into cities?
What?
The wine.
Yeah.
That really
Same with
got
me.
me.
That was probably the biggest part of it.
Because wine is-
Because I mean, it has to do a lot with, I think, about how like drugs play a really important part.
Why
It's
is
literature.
wine a drug? Is that what you're
Yeah,
saying?
It's intoxicating.
It's intoxicant.
Okay.
So,
That's just like smoking is.
so
Drugs are smoking. Or what you said earlier.
So I think it's almost like in books like Stranger, he smokes and he quits smoking, and in The Doll's House,
she likes
she likes
macaroons.
That's a drug, right?
You know, honestly, I think that drugs can be it's just relative. I think a drug can be situational depending on the person, because I honestly...
Whatever provides you with euphoria.
Yeah. Honestly, I think that for Nora, macaroons were drugs. I really do. And I think that novel was trying to say that you should do drugs, because her macaroons were almost like a rebellion against this system. But when you look at the time period, it makes sense, because they wanted to rebel against the system. Whereas, in books such as The Stranger, there was not rebellion.
Well,
and he was very existentialist, so he didn't really care about rebellions. And so the drugs were a good thing. He's like, man, this is ridiculous, this is being taken away from me. What do you guys think about that?
Well, if you're arguing that, then I'm going to argue that in A Tale of Two Cities, Sidney Carton's love for Lucy was like a drug for him, because that was the only reason that he liked anything in his life, because he just hated everything, but he loved Lucy.
So I think...
And that's why he killed himself,
would it be correct to say that drugs are a catalyst for change in society? And if we want to change, we have to start doing drugs?
That's a good line.
I'd say it's a possibility.
I think drugs is maybe not the correct term, maybe what drives us.
I like how this came off of animals.
Yeah, I think the drug question here we skipped. I think it's been answered.
Maybe, perhaps, this could lead us to the conclusion that since drugs drive change, perhaps Obama uses drugs.
How do you feel about it?
I believe the reefer is a very good drug for Obama. Not me. I promise. Reefer is weed.
Does Obama really smoke? Because I totally heard that Obama
I heard that he smoked when he was younger, but that
Who
is...
hasn't? I mean, come on.
I smoked when I
haven't.
was like 8.
Whoa.
I have not
You're
tried
behind the
any
times.
drugs.
Come on, Sean.
I haven't tried, prescription pills too.
Sean,
I don't like
I haven't
those.
said it. We're like, come on. Don't worry, Sean. Don't worry. We haven't either.
Do you guys think
Oh,
that...
okay. That's like, whoa.
I don't think, unless
Am I
Nathan
missing-
secretly has, I don't report
Do you guys think that our society needs to change?
Well, you see, Sean, I brought this with us. I think Sean was so serious, like, I haven't really done it.
I think
Huh.
if we take a look at the text, then we know that, when change is really needed, change will happen. Like the French, the Revolution, they needed that because they were being oppressed, and it just happened. And Nora, she needed to get out of there, and it was just building up, and she kind of needed it, but she didn't do anything. And then when she needed it, she was gone.
The release of tension.
Do you think that the texts always glorify rebellion? Because in my opinion, in A Tale of Two Cities, the rebellion was kind of looked at as this is really stupid. This change is really bad.
It was very looked at as messy and like
and
animalistic and not human, but it was also looked at as needed. Because I mean, if you look at all like the beginning, that wine scene, and they're all like dirty and playing in the mud and horribly treated and stuff, and obviously something needed to change. And so maybe killing everyone wasn't the answer, but that's what happened.
That was really racist.
I like how it's like, don't watch and be like, okay, I guess I found out they don't do drugs, and they hate the French, and Nathan has really bad handwriting.
I think she already knows that.
Probably.
Yeah, especially with the essays.
I just like to imagine that Nathan was taking his time and writing that down.
Yeah.
I really was.
Okay, we should have another question.
Man, I have 2 new texts, and I haven't looked.
What role do motifs play in the books?
Question.
Motifs are like a reoccurring symbol that happens throughout the novel. Or play.
Kind of like, oh man, we're in The Stranger. I was going to say, in The Stranger, there's death.
Or the
Yeah.
sun.
And
Or
the ocean.
sun.
Yeah. In the dollhouse, there's
The
Macaroons.
Christmas tree.
macaroons.
Christmas tree. Christmas tree.
And yeah.
I always talk about the Christmas tree.
I have not mentioned it actually.
The Christmas tree is really helpful because it's a symbol for
I'm not
like
doing it.
the degradation of Nora, her Victorian values, because the Christmas tree is a symbol of Victorian values, and they degrade as she develops.
That was intense.
Well, in A Tale of Two Cities,
Over my head.
there's
wine.
there's line. I was gonna say there's repetition in pairs.
Yeah.
Like in the beginning.